Parrado, teach us about this topic, please.
Hello. Thank you so much, Kevin. Actually, let me change my camera before continue. So, yeah, can you hear me well? First of all, I just want to make sure that everyone can hear me.
Yeah, Parrado.
Okay. Thank you so much, Kevin, for that introduction. So, as he mentioned, today we want to talk about data democratization and also data literacy. It is an important topic for today, today's company, and even in today's daily life for everyone, because we actually are surrounded by data. So we want to understand what is those two concepts of data literacy and data democratizations, since this is some tools that we actually can use in order to take better decisions with data and being more conscious related to what is required when you need to take decisions or make decisions with data. So this is what we want to cover right now. I don't know if we want to start right away or we want to wait a couple of minutes so everyone join. What do you suggest? Okay, we're just gonna give a couple of minutes once everyone is joining. I see 8 people here already. If you can say hi in the chat, that'll be amazing. So we can see, yeah, we can see your comments there. Don't forget to give us a salute. And we're gonna get started in just one moment. Okay, yeah, let's do it. So yes, as I mentioned before, for those that are just joining, we want to talk about data democratization and data literacy, 2 important topics for today's companies, for what we require in order to make important decisions based on data. So I'm going to share my screen right now so we can see a little presentation that we have for this. Okay. All right. So yeah, first of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Juan Mauricio Parrado. I'm the business intelligence project manager from Transcender Global. We have been working around 3 years with data, providing solutions with data, given data democratization, in data democratization information, and given what we require in terms of tools to create these standards to share data with all the people that works with that. So what we want to do today is to share a little bit of what we do, and also if you can get to understand a little bit better what we do and what is our purpose as a company. So let's start it. Let's get it started. So let's start with data literacy. Actually, this is really important concept that came out. It started to be heard in the surroundings and around companies, because there's something that was happening previously, before COVID and during COVID, and now that we're in this kind of post-COVID era, which is digital transformation. So what is it? What is digital transformation exactly? So we actually had to face some challenges, and companies had to face some challenges in terms of the people is now being bombarded. The companies are right now generating a lot of information, a lot of data that needs to be transformed, that needs to be processed, that needs to be taken care of. So some companies actually had to face a transformation when it needs to base solutions or their solutions to digital solutions. So all these changes that they have to make, and that we have to make as well, is what we call digital transformation. So it's pretty much doing what we used to do, but now we need to use digital tools, and almost I would say almost 100% of the tools are already cloud-based as well. So it's not only digital transformation, but also it's kind of a cloud digital transformation, which that is going on right now. So actually, there's something that is happening right now. The 90% of the enterprises and the enterprise organizations have prioritized digital transformation through cloud-based services. This means that 90% of the enterprises have realized that this is an important step that I need to make. So they have their original processes, and now they have to pretty much take the original process and convert it into a digital process. So it needs to be, or what is pretty much mostly done, is that they do it through cloud-based services. So this is our services that we can find for different platforms that are pretty much cloud-based. So you use, for example, a server for a specific company or set of companies, and you actually access to that information or to that service or to that resource that is in a cloud. So if you're not familiar with the term cloud, it is actually something that it is actually real. There's a place in the world that contains this information or this resource, but we don't need to worry about the place we are contacting to get this source. We just need to worry about the service that we are getting, and this is pretty much done through the internet. So it is. We call this cloud because we don't really interact with physical place, but it's mostly in internet. So it is like kind of cloud. So this is pretty much the concept of the cloud. So this is what is happening, for example, for companies that need to go through this digital transformation through these services. And there's also something important that 83% of the companies leaders have to face important obstacles to move forward with digital transformation within the organization. So this means that they actually have to do, there are important obstacles that are preventing him to take decisions, to make decisions that are important for the organizations. And the two of them is actually the 2% of these company leaders are not able to measure the value that they are extracting with his data. And also 27% of these leaders, only 27% of these leaders can convert these data that they have been generated into specific decisions. So this is important topics that we need to cover, because this means that not even 0.5% of half of the leaders that are around the world that work with technology have the availability to extract the whole value that they can make from the data they generate. And also this means that they don't make those decisions that are important based on the data. So this is really important thing that we need to cover here. So there's something that we call data value gap. So I'm going to explain a little bit what this is. So there is a gap between what the actual value that the companies extract from the data itself, and also there is an opportunity of the value that we can the value that we can extract from the data we generate. So it is actually this gap. I don't know if you can see the blue line at the top. It is what we can express as the opportunity of value we generate from the data. And also this line at the bottom is what is really happening in terms of the value we generated from data. So what is going on in the middle is of this value that we can actually extract from the data that is generated. So it is important for the leaders to get the information that is out of the gap, because as you can see here, is the difference is huge, and we actually can do a lot of things with this data or with this value that can be generated. So as there's something important here that high performing companies actually improve data literacy by training employees and empowering them with access to the right data sets and tools, so they can actually use this data to do day-by-day innovation, and also day-by-day the job they do day by day. So they actually get to do some important things, not also the work they do, but also more valuable decisions So the reason we want to do this, and I'm going to explain a little in a bit what is data literacy itself, is because this is the key that will allow us to pretty much get all this value that is already missing, or there is still an opportunity to extract. So what is itself data literacy? So let's talk about it just real quick. It's an important and pretty simple concept, actually. So let's imagine that we are in a library. So in this library, we have a lot of books that we would like to read because this is useful information. So what we do is that we go there and pretty much we start reading the books one by one. If you're a hard reader, probably you will take shorter than me. And what's going on with these books are actually in Japanese, for example. It would be impossible to even read one of those if you don't know Japanese. So it is important to be an alphabet, a Japanese reader for this purpose, for example. Or you can make this sample with any language you want. If you don't know the language itself, you pretty much don't know how to extract information from these books. So to me, that I don't know Japanese, it'll be just a bunch of papers with ink on it, printed ink. So I wouldn't be able to really get information from it. So this is what happens with data. So with data the same, it's just now we have one and zeros, a bunch of numbers, a bunch of information there. If I don't have the knowledge to extract information from it, it'll be like if it's written in Japanese, I will be able to pretty much extract any information at all from it. So what is data literacy itself is actually a set of skills that will allow us to extract information. So in terms of literacy itself, for example, if we're talking about the books or the reading or writing, it's just the skills to extract information from written words or from the language itself. But now that we're talking about data literacy, it's actually the skills to extract information from data. So it's pretty much data literacy is nothing more than a set of skills that we need to improve in order to get value from the data, understand the data, make a story with the data, and make decisions with the data, which is pretty much at the end the purpose of the data itself. So there's okay, I'm gonna continue with an example. So there's actually some applications in your cell phone. So let's assume that we are in Bogota, which is one of the cities in our country, Colombia. So there's an application that you can, it's pretty much in every iPhone or Android phone, where you can extract or where you can see the weather, how the weather is going to behave for today, for example. And in this case, I'm interested in taking a look in the probability of rain, which is, as you can see here, is right now 30%. So for Bogota, it is actually a really rainy place. But if I take a look and I see 30%, I don't know exactly what this means. I assuming that 30% is kind of low value if I compare with 100%. So it'll be like the third part of 100%. So I don't really know this is something high or something low, to be honest, if I just take a look at this. So I should ask myself, what is it exactly? Is it going to rain, or what is it saying to me? Is it going to rain 30% of the time, or is it going to rain over 30% over my city in different places? Or is it the probability that rain precipitation on my area? So I don't really know when I take a look the first time what is going on. So I want to explore what is actually this number, or what is the meaning of these numbers. So it's the calculation that this the application is doing to get this number is actually the probability of precipitation. So it is a percentage of confidence multiplied by the percentage of the area. So this actually means that what I taken a look into is actually a probability of rain precipitation in my area. So actually what I did here, digging into the information that I got, looking for information in terms of how this metric was actually calculated. It is one of the steps that are contemplated into the data literacy steps. So we don't want to just take look of numbers and make decisions because we are assuming things. We actually want to know what exactly that means, what is exactly happening with the numbers, with the calculations behind them, so we can make better decisions based on that. Okay, so that's pretty much the whole point of data literacy and the reason why we want to learn about it and the reason why we should take that into account for a company and even for our personal life, because as you can see, data surround us. So we definitely want to make it part of our life. So now let's talk about data democratization. So now this topic is really important as well, because this is gonna give us superpowers in terms of how the company itself treats data. So let's talk about this a little bit. So there, Brent Dykes, this important person that actually is a really good influencer for data storytelling. And yes, there is data storytelling. So he says that most companies recognize data as in the hands of a few experts, that this can be wonderful, this can be totally useful. And actually, you can see in most of the companies that there are a few people that are really, really high level on handling data and taking care of it and making decisions with data. But what happens is that data at the fingertips of many is what will be truly transformational. So this means that if we give the right access, and not only the right access, but also the data literacy to pretty much everyone in our organization, that will mean a huge change in terms of how this organization works, because now everyone can access to data, and now everyone can understand data, and they can make decisions and innovation and make innovations with this. So it's something really, really important to for companies that we all should consider, because it will definitely change the way we extract value from the data, and we will pretty much close the gap that we saw in the previous slide. So now let's talk about data democratization itself. So it's not actually equal to data access. It is part of it. Access is part of it, but only giving access is nothing more that just like me stepping on a library that is all written in Japanese, and I wouldn't be able to read anything. So if I access to that information, that's not enough to me, because I wouldn't be able to understand and I wouldn't be able to get value from it. So what it really means, or what was really is important for data democratization, is three things additional to access. Is also comfort. How do I feel? Do I feel comfortable making this, looking at data? Do I feel comfortable checking at graphs? Do I feel comfortable making decisions based on numbers? And do I feel comfortable sharing all this information with my colleagues? So this is really important, because this is actually what that literacy is that we already know how data works. We already know how data is structured, the sources. We know how the calculations are made. It may be hard at the beginning, but the more you study, the easier it becomes. So there is a point that everyone can get comfortable with it. Everyone can just review or take a look into data like it's something that you see every day. And this is actually true. This is something that we handle every day. So we want to achieve that in data democratization, comfort. So there's also something important is the right tools. So whenever we have the right tools to talk about data, extract and visualize data, and this is actually something that we focus on creating the right tools. So with the right tools, we can actually make good decisions with data, and we will even feel more comfortable with data. So the third section, the third important topic here is the culture. So culture is really important when you are on an organization and you want to give to the organization a culture of data. So as you can see in the image, it's not only people what organization is made of. It's also data. Data is important. It's really important, because that will give us the base to pretty much make decisions every day. So we really want to attach a culture to the data itself, so everyone is aware that this is pretty much what is one of the top most important things in our company. So now, how do they really work together? So I mentioned that pretty much with the term of comfortable or being comfortable in data democratization, it is actually where data literacy is. So there's actually an implementation, a cycle implementation that it has 6 steps. So the first one is planning ambition. So in this one, we actually want to pretty much do a plan of what is required for this for the whole data democratization steps. So it is important here to mention that data democratization, or this implementation that we're reviewing right here, it is a learning path. So it is a process that is continuously happening. It is a process that is a cycle. So it does not stop at any point, because it pretty much keeps going and going as the future goes, as the time goes. So this first step that we need to make is to plan all that, is to make sure that we have the right resources, that we have the right people on it, and that we have the right timing. So those 3 are the key topics of any project as this one. So we want to put the right people on it, those that are those decision makers, or even if it's a small company, we want to put everyone on the company of it. We want to as well give an available budget that is really important, because this requires time. So it's going to be people that will be also teaching this. So and also we want to need some courses, for example. So there's going to be a budget required, and also the timing. We need to make a schedule, a calendar for this, so we can, pretty much everyone is going to be working on their stuff, and they need to schedule themselves to make sure that they timing are correct with this learning path, along with their daily job. Okay, so now we want to talk about the communication itself. So actually, what I want to do is to show what are the benefits, what is the duration of the phases, and what are the details and the progress of each phases in these steps. So we want to share that with everyone in the company, so they all can be aware of what's happening. So this is what happens is communication. So now it is important to, actually there's third step that I want to show you. It is what we call assessment. So this assessment is actually an evaluation that we do in order for us to know what is the level of data democratization, what is what people think about the data, what people think about being surrounded by data, if they feel comfortable or not with the data. So there's an assessment that we actually suggest, and we're going to put it in the chat if Kevin can help me out with giving the link. It is actually a company that has pretty much focused on this topic. So they already created an assessment, so you can evaluate yourself how well you go in terms of data democratization. It's actually a simple test. It won't require much time. It doesn't have wrong questions. It's just for you to see how comfortable you are with data. Okay, so this is an important part of the process, because this is where we evaluate how we're doing before we even start. So now after that, there's something important that is cultural development. So as I mentioned before, culture is a key part of this process, because we want to make sure that data itself is part of the culture, because if that happens, that means that everyone is committed to learn data democratization and to be comfortable with data. So this is what we want to achieve in this cultural development. So if there's some tweaks that we require to do in our culture in our company, it will be totally worth it, because at the end, people is going to be more committed to handle data, and it's going to be easier for everyone. Everyone will feel more comfortable with it. So it's really important to pretty much set one of the bases the data itself in our company culture. So this is the company I was talking about for the literacy assessment. I don't know if Kevin already sent it. I'm actually going to send it as well. So there's important thing that there's a little delay in the chat. So probably you'll see it later. Okay, there you go. There it is. Okay. So this is the link that you wanted to open in order for you to evaluate yourself in terms of how you do with data literacy. So yeah, I invite you all to take a look and to challenge yourself to make this so we can actually know what is our level of data literacy itself. Okay. All right. So something really important to mention about culture development is actually is how we behave in terms of our daily jobs when we are surrounded by data. For example, how is our media communications when we need to talk about data? Do we freak out? Do we understand what we see? We don't have any idea what's going on, or we fully understand a graph, or we just don't see any value on the data. So this is important because we are pretty much every day in a daily meetings, mostly for remote companies. So this is important. This is really important in terms of communication. So also a key point is when we do decision making. So is our decision making based on data, or we are still making decisions based on what we feel, or just because I think this is the way, or because I got a feeling that this should be the way, or are we really looking into the data before even making a decision? So it's really, really important to evaluate this in terms of our cultural development, and also how our visualizations are made. So we wanna know if we actually understand our visualizations, if we know what's going on with these visuals, if they make sense at all, or if they don't, what is going on. So it is important to know what is this levels on three topics regarding all pretty much day by day work. So now there's two more steps. So the first one is what we call prescriptive learning. So here, once we have evaluated with our assessment how we do with data literacy, and then how is our cultural development in terms of how we communicate, how our visualizations, for example, and also what people think about data itself, we want to start creating the learning path. So the learning path will give us the tools to learn pretty much. And this learning process starts here. So whatever we did before this was actually preparing for this. So here we can set up a set of courses, a set of books, or any material you can find on the internet, or whatever you as a company feel that this is valuable, and putting in this learning path so everyone can follow it, so they can start learning about that data itself, how data is generated, pretty much simple mathematics, how to tell a story with data, how to understand a story with data, and all those kind of things that are really important. So this is pretty much when we set the path to start learning those. And then in the sixth point, what we want to do there is to evaluate what we learned. So in here, we want to pretty much take a look back to see what are the courses that were completed, what are the achievements that we made, and pretty much what was all the information that we learned during this process until here. So once that's done, we actually want to do the whole cycle again, because now, okay, we have learned a certain portion of our knowledge in terms of data literacy, but we want to do it again. We want to we want to learn even more. So we need to start planning our next steps. So our next module or our next knowledge that we want to get. So we start over and we do the planning, communication, assessment, cultural development, prescriptive learning, and we also evaluate again, and so on. We need to keep in mind that learning is actually an infinite cycle. You can learn things every day. So this is something that you do in your daily life. So it's not something that you do as a company itself, or just as because you're part of a group of people that work for someone or some other group of people, but also because it is important for you to learn how to manage data. It is in every place you look at. So we definitely want to learn that. If you're not familiar, if you feel scared, if you don't get excited with data, I invite you to do this by yourself so you can actually start learning those things, because it's really important for today's life. So now we want to talk about our methodology in data democratization, because we actually have been working on creating tools, which is one of the key points in data democratization. So what we do to create these tools is that we pretty much do this along with our with companies. So let's assume that we start this process with a company. So we actually start digging into how the company works, what is valuable for them, what is the most valuable data for them. So this is what we call data understanding. So at this first point, we want to fully understand what's going on with the data and the company itself. What are the key metrics for them? How they make decisions and all those things, because this is what we want to evaluate before it continue. So once that's clear, we actually have to, we do data mining. So this, we're start digging into the data itself. We're start digging into the sources. We love data. So we actually start taking a look into different pieces of data that we can find in the different systems for this or any organization. So this is what we do here. And then here in the third point, we have the data processing. So here we actually want to process all data we have mined in a previous step. And we actually have fully understanding of this data whenever we also, when we completed the first part of business understanding. So now we want to process this in a certain way. So we evaluate the best way to process this. And then we go to it is the fifth point, which is data visualization, which is really important as well, because at the end, what I want to see is, for example, as the person is taking care of a company or the decision maker of the company, is to have all this data in a way that I can actually get value from it. So this is what we want to achieve in data visualization. We want to get value in terms of some KPIs. For example, KPIs is just a key important metric that we find in any company. So how are our sales going? How are our company growing? How are finances going? All that can be actually summarized in one number. We actually do it in this data visualization step. So we create a whole table or a whole story actually to show the story of the company, pretty much. It could be real time, it could be close to real time. And actually with the sixth point, we can actually take a look to the future, which is really important, because we wanna even make decisions in advance. So what happens if we have a prediction of, for example, how the market will behave in the next 5 years? So if we already have some of that information, I have a step ahead over my competitors, for example, so I can make the better decisions that they do. So I already know what's going to happen somehow. So it's definitely like taking a look to the future. So that will also fundamentally increase our decision-making process. So this is pretty much our pipeline for this, for the tools that we create for any company in terms of data democracy, creating what they need in order to feel comfortable with the data, in order to have the right tools, and also to have the right access, because it's really important. The access not only it's not the whole meaning of this, but it's important key. So, and as well, this is as the learning process is also an iterative process. So it is start over whenever we want to keep building tools inside a company. So this is pretty much what we got for today, everyone. So I hope you enjoyed this conversation, and I want to see if you have comments or questions in the chat, so we can definitely review them and give some answers.
Thank you, Mauricio. We stay in the chat to can see any question. If you have to question for Mauricio about this topic, or do you need to know around more to the data literacy of or data democratization, you can put your questions in our box in chat, please.
Looks like it's pretty clear.
Yeah, I think that your explanation today was be clear, Mauricio, because don't have question.
All right. Do you have a question, Kevin? No?
Okay, maybe tell us what is the more repeat fear for the companies to use or to bring the jump to the data democratization.
Okay, that's actually an important topic. What the companies fear the most in terms of data democratization. So actually, I've seen with this process that a lot of people, a lot of companies have been used to work in a certain way, so they fear to change the way they work. That means that they are refusing to change itself. So what are they afraid of the most is actually change. And I don't blame them. It is important to know that a change is never easy, because it has their challenges. So for someone, for example, that is actually been working around, I don't know, 20, 30 years the same way, and suddenly we have a pandemic, and now everything changed. So everyone freaked out, actually. And so this is one of the things that scare people the most. It's not a secret that, for example, for companies happens the same. So when this pandemic came, they actually had to change a lot of things, and a lot of, actually, unfortunately, a lot of people got really affected by this, and some of them actually were able to change. So it is about availability that we need to develop in order to in order to be able to change where the situation is required. So since this is the one of the biggest fears for companies and people itself to face, when we are actually had to face while we were talking about digital transformation, this is more an invitation for everyone that is looking at this. So in case you fear, you feel this fear, make sure that actually fear should not stop us. So it is good to have fear. So the whole purpose of data democracy is to leave this fear behind, so you can actually feel comfortable with the data, and you can feel comfortable making decisions with data. So I invite you to follow the process that we've gone through today, and leave this fear behind, because it's something that should not stop us, definitely. So yeah, I think I said more than I was supposed to, but hopefully this clarifies that question.
That's amazing, Mauricio. I have another question. How Trascender Global can help a company to better use their data?
Okay, that's a really important question, and actually what we wanted to show you as part of this webinar was exactly that. In the whole process that we do, for example, the one that I showed you before, we evaluate how the company is doing with data, and we want to help them creating tools So it is important to know that, and also the right access. So there's two things that we do actually there. We create the right tools and the right access. So I don't know if you remember in our previous slides, these are two key points of data literacy in data democratization. So there's also important that they, of course, the company has to make is in terms of culture. So we're not really a company that focuses on culture, but we do train people when it's required. We do train we train them in how this data should be handled and what is the best process with handling data, and pretty much making them feel comfortable looking at data, looking at graphs, even just with a pretty interface with the important numbers that you want to see. So this is really important, and this is what we do as a company to help them.
Thank you, Mauricio, for our answers. Okay, I don't see questions in the chat, so I think that your explication is really, really clear